This is TWiT.
So what does it take to repair an iPhone? If you ask Apple, they'll ship you 2 gigantic boxes and say good luck. Well, that's not true. They will ship you 2 gigantic boxes, and then they will also tell you to print out or get access to a repair manual that is 85 pages. I am setting off to replace the battery in an iPhone 12 Pro Max. Okay, so this battery is, for the most part, pretty okay. But I wanted to give people an idea of what it's like to actually go through Apple's self-service repair program. What you would need, what you get sent, and everything in between. And it ended up being kind of a comedy of errors. I got the manual. I was very excited to look through this and see everything that was involved in repairing the different parts of an iPhone. And I pitched the idea of replacing a screen or a display on an iPhone. But we didn't have an iPhone SE that actually worked for this repair. And that's the first thing that I think is important to understand. Apple, I believe it was about at the end of last year, said, hey, we're going to start doing this repair program thing where people can get the parts and the tools that they need to do a professional repair of their devices. But we're only going to make it available for the latest model of iPhones to start. And after a period of time, then we'll start rolling things out. Then Apple kind of went quiet for a while. We hadn't heard from them. Then some different blogs and Apple news sites said, hey, remember how Apple said they were going to do this repair program? Well, we haven't heard anything about it in a long time. What's going on there? Shortly after that, Apple said, hey, the repair program is ready. We've got all of the stuff that we need to make this happen, and we are ready for people to start getting the parts that they need, the tools, all of that stuff. So I hopped on the site. Selfservicerepair.com is the official site. I hopped on the site, and we decided to replace the battery inside of the iPhone 12 Pro Max because the iPhone 12, the iPhone 13, and the iPhone SE are the devices that right now you're able to repair or replace. That can be for the display, for the SIM card tray, which is a very easy one. You just get the tool or the replacement piece that you need for that. The haptic engine that's built into it called the Taptic engine, as Apple puts it, and battery, and a few other parts and pieces that you're able to actually do a repair or replacement with. So, thought iPhone 12, it's the phone that I actually use regularly as my camera for the shows that I do from home. And so the battery does get a lot of work, despite the fact that it's plugged in at most times. So I thought this would be a good thing to be able to take apart and thereby show what the process is like, because you have to actually take off the display and then take out some of the pieces that are inside in order to actually do the replacement of the battery. So I went through the process. I knew that I wanted to get the tools, and I went online. I, filled out the steps, and Apple has hired a third-party company called Spot to do all of the distribution of the tools and the parts as well. And so went to the website, got everything set up, and they sent out 3 packages. 2 packages were just these raw Pelican cases with the shipping labels on the front of them, and then a third package that actually had the piece that I need, the battery and some adhesives and stuff like that, to do the repair itself. And this is where I want to stop and really discuss something that I think is important to understand about this way of doing a self-service repair. The folks who are doing self-service repairs are likely not the people who have multiple phones, who have an Apple store that's nearby, who are very easily able to pay someone to do a repair for them if they want to. These self-service repairs are particularly helpful for people who either are super skilled in this and just want to do that for that reason, or they live somewhere where they don't have easy access to an Apple store or a similar repair service. And so I think back to my time when I lived in Missouri. It was about a 3-hour drive to the nearest Apple store. And so I often did these repairs on my own. I wanted to see what was inside of these devices anyway. And so I used tools from iFixit. iFixit's a great website to get parts, pieces, tools, everything. In fact, I've got an iFixit kit right here that's mine, and several different tools that I need for this repair. And with that site, I was able to, I've replaced the batteries in Kindles. I've completely had to take apart a MacBook Pro and replace the battery in that. I've fixed displays on iPhones. I've done the works. And that process is relatively easy. I go to the iFixit website, I type in the name of the item that I'm trying to repair or replace. I can find those pieces. They often include these little toolkits where you get everything that you need to do the repair or replacement. And it gets shipped to me, and I'm able to do that. That has cost, I've been charged anywhere between like $50 and $200, I think at the most, right? So what is involved with this? Well, when you go online, Apple kind of lays everything out for you, or Spot lays everything out for you. The pieces that you need to actually do the repair, and then they offer these tools that you can use to do the repair. And they offer a rental program for these tools, $49 for a week to be able to use the tools. So let me actually look on the website to see what my order actually did cost me. So if we go into the orders here, it is $1.80 for the display adhesive for the iPhone 12 Pro Max, $69 for the battery and screw kit, which is the actual parts that I need to do the repair, 14 cents for a battery shim, 19 cents for some security screws, and then $5.03 for a universal screw kit. Then some tools that are needed, 65 cents for a back protective cover, 70 cents for an adhesive cutter, 65 cents for a display protective cover, and $2.78 for one nylon probe. $49 to rent these tools. However, when you go through the process, and this is where I'm going back to that person who lives in Missouri, who would have to drive 3 hours, so they're trying to save gas money, they're trying to save time, they've only got one phone, and maybe they don't have enough room on their credit card for this. Spot, again, will put a hold on your card for the period that you have these tools. So right now, there's about $1,200 some that's just sitting on the company card waiting to be returned. But I think about folks who, as I said, don't have a lot of room on their credit or are having to use their debit cards, who then have a week that they have to wait for that money to be returned to them. It's just something to keep in mind that I think we might lose sight of as we are going through these repairs. So, as I said, 7 days, $49, right? That you are fully charged. The cool thing that Apple does do is you can send back the part that you take out if you're doing a replacement. So in this case, the battery. I can take that old battery and send it to Apple and potentially get $24.15 of credit. So at the end of this, the full cost would be under $150 total. So let's move forward. I get the tracking number for the parts and pieces, the tools and pieces that I need for the shipment. And I'm so excited because they arrive. And we're going to take a look at these here in just a moment. So I come in that day and I pop open these boxes, these Pelican cases, and I'm looking at all the stuff. Ooh, this is cool. Ooh, this is cool. But I notice that the battery is not there. So I check the tracking number, right? And it turns out that only 2 of the 3 shipments that were supposed to be coming actually arrived. So the battery that I actually need to do the replacement is not in my hands. I immediately reach out to Spot and say, hey, I've got the tools, but I don't have the part that I actually need to do the repair. What's going on? They said, well, as soon as you get the tools, your 7-day rental period begins. And I said, okay, but I can't do the repair. I can't use the tools until I get the battery. And they said some semblance of, yeah, this is a problem with our policy, meaning that they realize that that's an issue and that other people have likely called in with the same problem. A whole bunch of errors in shipping with UPS, where it bounced back and forth between California and Illinois, led to the package allegedly arriving today, supposed to come today, but it is still not here. And if I don't get these sent back to UPS tomorrow, then that $1,100 temporary charge will stay on the card. So all of that stress has been involved with this self-service repair program. And it made me curious. What if I had done this using iFixit? So I went to iFixit's website. I typed in iPhone 12 Pro Max, looked it up, and there was a kit for under $50 to get the tools, the parts, and the battery all sent to me, and it's ready for shipping, and I would have been able to do this replacement without all this extra stress that's been involved. So while we continue to wait for UPS to arrive, why don't we take a look at what's inside these Pelican cases that's worth that $1,100 that's sitting on TWiT's card? Move these tools out of the way. So we'll start with the small Pelican case. And these are heavy honking things. They are gigantic, and inside they have foam cutouts that are actually for holding these specific pieces. And one of the things that comes with it is a little bit of information about your the self-service repair program itself, as well as what contents are involved. And you get a return label for all of the parts that are inside, so that way you can send them back. I should also mention, you get these little red tags. When I got this, there were red tags on the case so that I knew that no one had opened it other than whenever they packed it up. So I have to put these back on whenever that's done. So this is the heated display removal fixture. And we'll pop this out just so you can see what it looks like. Ooh, and it is heavy. This big honkin' thing's job is to heat the display of the iPhone, the adhesive on the iPhone, in order to properly warm it to a temperature that lets you lift the glass, the display glass, off of the phone. You'll notice that there's a suction cup mechanism here, as well as this screw knob. Those all work together to press as needs to be pressed and provide the proper heat as you do the repair. There's also in the package what's called the heated display pocket. So the iPhone, let me grab that actually. The iPhone slides into the heated display pocket, and I think I need to open it up first. There we go. Slides into the heated display pocket like so, and then gets pressed and held. And then you take this and you put it onto the device, and at that point, the display can be warmed to the proper temperature and then suction cupped off the top. So there's a little look at that part of the tool. So I'll take that apart again just so. The doorbell's ringing. Oh, the doorbell's ringing. I wonder if it's UPS with the actual piece that I need to do this repair. That would be exciting and surprising. So we'll move that out of the way. Oh, and of course, it comes with a cable. I found it interesting that this looks like an iPhone style, or rather an Apple style cable, like the one that you would pop into the back of a Mac. The only difference is that it's angled there, as opposed to being straight out. So I would imagine, yeah, and in fact it says, I don't know if that can get in that close, but that says Apple there as the text. So an Apple cable. It was not it was the Amazon and not UPS. So that will pop into the back of there, and then we'd be able to turn it on. The repair manual has all of that information that's involved. I'm just gonna move this off to the side of the table so we can move on to the larger Pelican case. It has a lot more in it and actually has most of the most expensive stuff. Each of these, well, I'll show you the second fixture in a second. Each of these fixtures, if you were to buy it outright, is about a little over $200. So you could actually, if you were deciding you wanted to open up your own kind of professional repair program, you could do that by purchasing these tools. Let's get this big one to the middle of the table here. Now this one has buttons on all four sides, or on all three sides. So we'll lift these clips, and the clips on the front as well. And boop, pop this open. And here are the rest of the tools. Where did I? Must have moved those shipping labels somewhere else. And this also has information about what are the pieces that are that go into the box. So we'll start with the big one here, which is called, oh my word, the display press. This is for after you have finished with your iPhone, after you've put your iPhone back together. This is going to press down onto the display and properly apply the amount of pressure that's needed to hold the iPhone and give it that watertight seal that exists. It feels like candy making tools almost. Like I just want to get some sugar and pop it under here and see what happens. But then we'd have to buy this, and I don't think we want to do that. So I'll put that off to the side as well. We've also got I think this is the battery press. So similar to what's being done on the front of the device, this is going to essentially roll the iPhone underneath. These work with the pockets that come for the iPhone to slide into. And so that tool will go down underneath here, and then it will let you roll your iPhone properly along that. And I want to do this following the guide. So here we go. We can pop that in. And it's able to then roll the iPhone and provide the amount of pressure that's needed to give that proper seal. So those are some of the aluminum extruded tools. I would imagine these are probably made with the recycled aluminum that isn't used in other parts of the process, but don't quote me on that. You'll also notice this says iPhone SE 3rd generation. That's not the one that I'm repairing. The Apple repair manual said that you might run into that you would see some stuff that is not necessarily the model that you're working with. I think this just means, as I've kind of found out, that Apple's still got some growing pains to work out with this self-service repair program, and they need to work, in my opinion, closer with their partners at Spot to make sure that this goes as it's supposed to. And of course, the tags that make sure everything's locked. These are numbered tags. Now, my favorite part, the thing that actually in total costs more than any of this, are the torque drivers. Each of these torque drivers is $90. So there's about $300 right there in that pouch. About $300 in that pouch. And I'll talk about these in just a second, but I want to get the Pelican case back out of the way. So this is the one place where I feel that I have not had the tools that I needed to do the true, proper professional repair. And that is because I didn't even realize that this was a thing I needed to be worried about. But Apple actually provides details for the torque, the pressure, the rotational pressure that one is meant to apply to the screws. And I'm trying to find it here. As you are doing a repair. So Apple will say, hey, these screws that are right here, you need to provide this amount of rotational force to those screws. I've just gone in the past when I've done my own repairs and screwed them to a point where I felt comfortable. But the fact is, different screws and different components may be more or less sensitive to that pressure that's applied when you screw them together. And I am having trouble finding this diagram, but it is a really interesting, there we go. So you can see here, we've got black, gray, and green. That tells you the different level of rotational pressure you're meant to apply to those different screws based on what they are connecting, and so that you don't damage them. These special torque drivers here, gray, green, and black, provide that amount of pressure whenever you use them. So I'll pop one of these out, and essentially you put in the driver that you, or the bit rather, that you're wanting to use with it, and it fits very particularly into the base.
Pull the base, pull the round.
Oh, pull this down?
Yeah.
Or is it up? I guess it'd be.
Yeah, one of the
There we go. Now it's locked in tight. And when I'll just kind of grab on the end here, and I'm not, there's enough pressure. There we go. So as I'm holding this, you'll hear kind of a click. That is saying that's all the pressure that I'm going to allow you to screw it in. So this makes it very handy. I can screw and screw and screw and not worry about damaging those components thanks to these special drivers. And that is why they end up costing the most. The aluminum coming together, not as much money to do, but these have very precise measurements that require very specific instructions. The other little pouch that's in here, and these little boxes remind me of Burke, because Burke has a lot of these whenever he sends us home with tools and parts. You'll see that there's an adhesive cutter that looks like it's been used 1 trillion times, but that's meant to help you kind of remove some of the adhesive. Some extra suction cups that you might need in doing the repair and replacement. And then another component for holding, as you can see here, the different display adhesive that goes onto the iPhone. And then these parts, I believe, are just protective. Let's see, it says the adhesive cutter, the white thing is a back protective cover. This is a display protective cover. So I think that you put these on temporarily while you are doing the repair to make sure that you don't break anything or scratch anything. The nylon probe, and then the replacement wheel for the adhesive cutter is not in here. So I guess they said I don't need that. And the suction cup for the repair tray. So those are those pieces. So we'll pop that back in there and close that up. That's what I've got in those boxes. Lots of fun, interesting pieces, but I can't use any of them because I don't have the battery I need to actually do the repair. So from here on out, we're waiting for UPS to arrive. And someone was asking me earlier, what do you do if it doesn't arrive in time? I have to send them back. I have to take the tools and send them back to Spot. So it's one of those fixer beware situations, something to be aware of. And if anybody from Apple or Spot are watching this video, I would ask that you, A, look at the policy and say the 7-day rental doesn't start until they've got all the things that they need. And even more so, maybe ship out the part first and then have the tools come after. That would be good. In any case, I hope I get to finish this replacement of the battery. I've been studying my guide, so we'll be able to check that out. If not, at least we got a firsthand look at some of the interesting tools that Apple and Spot will send you to do a repair or replacement of your device. Good luck to those of you who try this out on your own. And thank you to some of the other third-party repair and replacement companies that make this a little bit simpler than all of this stuff.
Hello there.
Hi, can you go, sir?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
I am outside of the UPS store with the packages in tow because it is time to make the return of Apple's repair program tools. Folks, the battery that I was going to replace in the iPhone 12 finally arrived this morning, but not in time for us to need to take these tools back. So if we hadn't taken these tools back, then we would have been charged a bunch of money for them and had to keep them. So we made the executive decision that it was time to make the return. Ultimately, I think what this shows is that the policy needs to change, obviously, and that more needs to be examined with using these tools, with the process by which you can rent them. Maybe 7 days is not enough time if the shipping is going to be such an issue. So rather disappointed with how this has all turned out, but most importantly, we got a chance to look at the tools, which is pretty cool, see how they work, and give a little bit of a glimpse into the process of actually doing a self-repair, even if we didn't get to actually complete it ourselves. So with that, stay tuned as I continue to talk about this, as I continue to break this down, and as these tools head back, and we make sure that we don't get charged that ridiculous amount of money for said tools. Thank you for tuning in. Of course, you can check out iOS Today every week, where we talk about all things iOS, iPadOS, etc. And the Tech Guy as well on Saturdays with Leo Laporte, where I'm sure we will be talking about this comedy of errors that has been the self-service repair program. Until next time, I have been and will continue to be Mikah Sargent. Thanks for watching. We'll see you around.